Shalom. I am Seminarian Desmond Jansen, currently finishing my studies at St. Peter's College. I'm in my 5th year theology, and to be precise, today is my last day of my formation in St. Peter's College, and I'll be returning to Diocese of Penang very soon. So it's a great joy, my dear brothers and sisters, to meet you all through this program called Vocation Cafe, which is brought to you by 5 Loaves and 2 Fishes Media. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, before I start my sharing today, I would like to start my sharing today with a story about a father and a son with 2 precious stones. The father wanted to teach his son the meaning of life. So one day, he gave his son 2 stones and told him to go and sell it. When the buyer asked the price, do not say a word, but just show 2 fingers and allow the buyer to decide the price. And before you sell, please call me first. So the son said that, okay, it pretty sounds simple, and begins his journey. So the first place he went was a morning market near his housing area. He went to a guy selling lucky stones and told him, do you like to buy these 2 stones that I have? And the guy asked him, how much do you like to sell it? And the boy showed 2 fingers. And the guy said, okay, 200 sounds a good deal. So the boy called and asked his father. The buyer is offering 200 ringgit. The dad told him not to sell, but go to a museum. So the boy went to a museum and asked the museum authority, I'd like to sell you this precious stone. And the person in charge saw and did some testing, and he asked him, how much do you like to sell these 2 precious stones? And again, the boy showed 2 fingers. And the guy said, okay, 2,000 sounds a good price. And the boy called the father and asked. And the father said, don't sell it, but bring it to a precious stone or a jewelry shop. So the boy went to a jewelry shop and asked the owner, would you like to buy this precious stone? And the owner asked, how much do you like to sell it? And the boy again showed 2 fingers. And the owner said, all right, 2 million is a good deal. Are you willing to sell it? And the boy, with full of joy and excitement, called his father and said about it. And the father said, do not sell it, but bring it back home. The boy was so surprised and went back home and asked his father, why didn't you let me sell the stone? And the father said, son, now you know what this life is all about. Every single decision you make in your life is very important. Know your strength, know your challenges, know your place, and know the time when to speak and to act. The right word or right act will put you on the top of the world, but one single wrong word or act will completely kill you. Know what you are worth and use them wisely. Never let any negativity or challenges bring you down or divert you from your life journey. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, why do I share this story with you? When it comes to vocation or answering God's call, many of us have a lot of questions. Many of us have many reasons for not answering God's call. The most common answers will be, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too busy, I'm a sinful person, I'm just not good enough, I'm afraid. My dear friends, my dear brothers in Christ, we always see the imperfectness and the sinfulness there is in our life, but we fail to see what God can do through us. All that we can able to see what is missing and what we can't do. How can God use me and there must be other better person? Judging ourselves by the standard of the world, we respectfully decline God's call for us and hope someone else will answer the call. But God does not choose His people based on the standard of the world. So often it is not the strong, the knowledgeable, and with the perfect He chooses. It is the weak, the unexpected, and even the broken one He uses to show His glory. Some of the example that I can share with you is Elizabeth was too old. Moses was not a good speaker. Jeremiah was too young. Mary Magdalene had 7 demons in her. Jonah ran away from God. Paul was persecuting Christians. Thomas doubted. Augustine was living an immoral life, and Peter denied Jesus 3 times. My dear friends, when it comes being called by God, there's no such thing as old or young, unworthy or unprepared, unwise or sinful. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the call. God knows you true and true. Even before you were born, He has a plan for you. So my dear brothers and sisters in Christ, do not be afraid to answer God's call for you. Allow Him to enter into your life and experience the joy and love of being one with God and journeying with Him. God does not allow sin or darkness moment in life stop you from answering His call. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, Archbishop Socrates or Cardinal Socrates from the Philippines said so beautifully during in one of his told so beautifully in a sermon in one of the priestly ordination. Are you broken enough to be a priest? Are you weak enough to be a priest? Are you fearful enough to be a priest? It might look very harsh, but it was the most beautiful vocation message ever I heard. My dear friends, through our brokenness, we will become a beautiful mosaic image of Jesus when He comes together. Just like how these images or the small broken pieces come into a beautiful image of God. My dear friends, through our weaknesses, we will be God's instrument of hope, and through our fearfulness, we will grow in wisdom and humility. And through the weaknesses again, my dear friends, we will rely on God's strength, not on our strength, not on my strength, but on His strength. He must decrease and He must increase, I must decrease. My dear friends, God can do all things God can do all things in us and strengthen us. So my dear friends, put God first in everything you do. Allow God to guide you in your daily routines. Pray before you do something, before your meals, before you start driving, before you start your college or your work, and so forth. And always remember this, my dear brothers in Christ. Every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. So do not be afraid to answer God's call. My dear friends, I almost left seminary in my first year because I was dwelling into my sin and allowing my darkness moment to control myself. But the very moment I let God to take charge of my life, today I am in my 8th year of formation. I'm going to complete my formation in just a couple of days and return to diocese. So my dear brothers and sisters in Christ, do not be afraid. Happy and blessed Vocation Sunday or Good Shepherd Sunday. God bless you. Cheers. Take care.